Stop tossing your banana peels in the trash. Stop rinsing your coffee grounds straight down the drain. And while you're at it, stop cracking eggshells into the bin without a second thought. If you've been doing any of that, you've been throwing away some of the most effective, completely free fertilizer your garden will ever see. I want to show you something today that changed the way I garden. A few seasons ago, I was spending real money every month on bottled plant food, the bright blue liquid, the granules, the miracle root boosters. And honestly, my plants were fine. Not amazing, fine. Then I started paying attention to what I was throwing away in my own kitchen every single day, and I realized I already had everything I needed. In this video, I'm walking you through 4 kitchen scrap fertilizers, start to finish exactly how to make them, exactly how to apply them, and exactly what to expect and when. We'll cover a banana peel potassium tea, a coffee ground nitrogen tea, an eggshell calcium soak, and a quick rice water booster you can make in under a minute. By the end of this video, you'll have a full rotation you can use for the rest of the growing season, without spending a cent on store-bought fertilizer. Stick around, because the order you use these in actually matters, and I'll explain why as we go. Let's start with the one most of you already have sitting on your counter right now. Banana peels are one of the richest natural sources of potassium you can get your hands on, and potassium is the nutrient responsible for a few very specific jobs in your plant. It builds strong root systems, it regulates how your plant moves water internally, and it's directly linked to flowering and fruit quality. So if you're growing tomatoes, peppers, squash, or anything that fruits, this one matters more than almost anything else you'll feed it. Here's how to make it. Take your banana peels, and you can save these up in the freezer over a few days if you don't have enough at once, and chop them into small pieces. This step matters more than people think. The smaller the pieces, the more surface area you expose, and the faster the potassium and other trace minerals leach out into the water. If you leave the peels whole, you can still get results, but you'll be waiting a lot longer. Once they're chopped, drop them into a glass jar and cover them with about 2 cups of clean, room-temperature water. Glass matters here. Plastic can sometimes react with the acids in the peel over long soaks, and you want as clean a solution as possible. Now you let it sit. 6 hours is the bare minimum if you're in a hurry, but overnight is where you get the real strength out of it. You'll notice the water gradually shifting to a light amber or light brown color. That's your visual cue that the minerals have actually moved out of the peel and into the liquid. If the water is still clear, it's not ready yet. Once it's steeped, here's a step you cannot skip. Strain it. Use cheesecloth, a fine mesh strainer, or even a clean kitchen towel, whatever you have, but get every bit of solid material out of that liquid. This isn't just about looks. Leftover peel fragments left in your soil can start to mold, they can attract gnats and other pests, and they can throw off the balance right at the base of your plant, where the roots are trying to take up nutrients. A clean, clear liquid is a safe liquid. Before you actually apply it, take a moment to gently loosen the top layer of soil around the base of the plant, just an inch or 2 down, nothing aggressive. Over time, soil surfaces can form a light crust from watering and settling, and that crust does 2 unhelpful things. It blocks oxygen from getting down to the root zone, and it causes water to run off the surface instead of soaking in. Loosening that layer means your banana tea actually goes where it needs to go, instead of pooling and evaporating. Now pour the strained tea directly onto that loosened soil. Once a week is the sweet spot, more than that, and you risk overdoing the potassium relative to other nutrients. Less than that, and you won't build up a strong enough reserve in the soil. Stay consistent with it, and somewhere between 10 and 20 days in, you'll start to see the first sign it's working. New flower buds forming where you didn't have them before. Keep the weekly rhythm going, and those buds turn into fruit that tends to come in more uniform, and in my experience, noticeably sweeter, especially with tomatoes and peppers. If this saved you a trip to the garden store already, that's exactly what this channel is about. Go ahead and hit subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. And if you want more zero-cost garden hacks like this, there's a whole playlist waiting for you right here. Now, let's get into nutrient number 2. That's your banana peels handled. But before we move to the next one, I want to explain something a lot of people get wrong about feeding plants from kitchen scraps, because it actually changes how you should be rotating these. Plants need 3 primary nutrients in different amounts depending on their stage of growth: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. You'll see these listed as NPK on any commercial fertilizer bag. Nitrogen mainly drives leafy, green growth. Phosphorus supports root and flower development. And potassium, like we just covered, supports overall plant strength, water regulation, and fruit quality. The reason I don't recommend using just one of these teas on repeat is the same reason a bottled fertilizer lists 3 numbers instead of 1. Your plant's needs shift as it grows. A young seedling putting out its first true leaves needs more nitrogen. A mature plant that's flowering needs more potassium and phosphorus. So the real strategy here isn't pick your favorite kitchen scrap tea and use it forever. It's building a small rotation so your plant gets a more complete diet over its life cycle, the same way a bottled fertilizer would provide, just sourced from your own kitchen instead of a store shelf. That's exactly why we're not stopping at one recipe today. Let's get into the nitrogen side of things. If banana peels are your potassium source, coffee grounds are your nitrogen source, and if you drink coffee daily, you're sitting on a nearly unlimited supply of this one. Coffee grounds contain a meaningful amount of nitrogen, along with smaller but still useful amounts of magnesium and phosphorus. But there's one step you cannot skip here. Dry the grounds completely before you use them. Wet, freshly used grounds behave very differently. Once they hit water again, they're more prone to clumping, and you lose some of the nutrient value in the process. Spread them out on a plate or tray for a day or two until they're fully dry and crumbly. Once dried, measure out about 2 tablespoons of grounds into a glass jar and add roughly 4 cups of room temperature water. Room temperature matters here. Specifically hot water can actually break down some of the beneficial compounds you're trying to extract, so resist the urge to speed this up with warm water. Stir it well, then let it sit undisturbed for a full 24 hours. That's the window that gives the nitrogen and trace minerals time to fully dissolve into a form your plant's roots can actually absorb. This is essentially a slow extraction happening right there in the jar. After the 24 hours are up, strain it the same way you did the banana tea sieve or cloth. Remove every bit of sediment. The reasoning is identical. Undissolved coffee grounds left sitting in your soil can turn anaerobic over time, develop a sour smell, and become a magnet for the kind of pests you don't want anywhere near your plants. Loosen the soil around the base the same way as before, then apply the strained liquid once a week. Here's a nice side benefit. The mild acidity and strong scent of coffee tend to naturally discourage slugs and ants from setting up near the base of your plant. It's not a guaranteed pest barrier, but it's a helpful side effect you get for free, with 0 chemicals involved. Stay consistent for about 30 days, and you'll typically notice thicker stems, deeper and more saturated green foliage, and visibly more new growth compared to where the plant started. It's one of the more dramatic before and afters in this whole rotation, especially on plants that were looking a little pale or stalled out beforehand. Can I ask you for one favor before we keep going? My wife doesn't think this channel can reach 10,000 subscribers. I've been putting my heart into these videos because I truly believe we can build something special together. If this video has made you smile, taught you something, or entertained you, please subscribe. Your single click isn't just another number it tells me to keep going. Let's prove that with enough support, anything is possible. Thank you for being part of this journey. Alright, let's keep going, because the next one solves a problem almost every tomato grower runs into. Now let's talk about the one people overlook the most, eggshells. If you've ever grown tomatoes and dealt with blossom end rot, that sunken dark leathery patch on the bottom of an otherwise good fruit, that's very often a calcium deficiency issue, and eggshells are one of the simplest ways to address it. Rinse your eggshells after use so there's no leftover egg residue, then let them air dry for a day. Once dry, crush them up. The finer you crush them, the faster they'll break down and release calcium into water. A rolling pin over a bag of shells or a quick pulse in a food processor works well. Take about half a cup of crushed shells and place them into a large jar, then fill it with roughly 1 liter of water. This one needs patience. Let it sit for a full 48 to 72 hours. Calcium carbonate, which is what eggshells are mostly made of, is slower to dissolve than the potassium in banana peels or the compounds in coffee, so this brew takes longer to become effective. Strain it just like the others, then water it in around the base of tomatoes, peppers, or any fruiting plant that's prone to calcium-related issues. Because this one works more slowly and preventatively, you don't need to apply it weekly, once every 2 to 3 weeks. is enough to keep a steady calcium reserve available in the soil as your plant is actively forming fruit. Last one, and this is the fastest of the four. Next time you rinse or boil rice, don't pour that cloudy water down the drain. The cloudiness is starch, and trace nutrients that leached out of the rice, and it works as a light, gentle fertilizer, especially for seedlings and younger plants that can be sensitive to anything stronger. Just let the rice water cool to room temperature, then water your plants with it directly. No straining needed, no soaking time required. It's mild enough to use more frequently than the other three, roughly twice a week, and it's a great way to give young transplants a gentle boost without risking overfeeding them while they're still establishing. So here's how I'd actually structure a weekly rotation using everything we just covered. Early in the season, while plants are mostly putting out leaves and establishing roots, lean on the coffee ground tea for nitrogen, with rice water in between waterings for young seedlings. Once your plants start flowering and setting fruit, shift toward the banana peel tea for potassium, and bring in the eggshell soak every couple of weeks if you're growing anything prone to calcium issues, like tomatoes or peppers. None of these require anything you don't already have sitting in your kitchen right now. No trip to the store, no bottled fertilizer, no ongoing cost, just a bit of patience and a consistent weekly habit. That's the full rotation banana peel tea for potassium, coffee ground tea for nitrogen, eggshell soak for calcium, and rice water for a gentle everyday boost. 4 fertilizers, 0 cost, made entirely from things most people throw straight in the trash. And if you want to see exactly how these teas perform side by side on the same plant over a full growing season, that video is coming soon, so stay close. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.